Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Cinema.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Golem.
This is a new game from Virginio Gigli, Flaminia Brasini and Simone Luciani, published by Cranio Creations.
It plays 1 to 4 players in about 120 minutes.
This is one of the bigger, heavier Euro games from this year. So obviously we are interested in it because heavy, crunchy Euro games is where we are at. That's what we do like.
Yeah.
So firstly, briefly, a small little overview. As you know, we don't do like the whole rule thing because nobody watches it and it's boring. So, Golem. You are choosing actions to make golems, or you're choosing actions to get knowledge in books, or you're choosing actions to build magical artifacts with gold that you can find out in the woods. That's not actually in the game, but you're basically it's an action selection game. You're going to play 4 rounds. Every round you're going to choose 2 marble actions, and you're going to choose 1 rabbi action, which is one of the different actions that's out that round. And the marble action is going to be the same each round, depending on how powerful they are. It's going to be depending on where the marbles land. When you drop them down, this little marble shoots. So you drop them down here and they have somewhere to land and they don't just fall out on the floor. That would be a very strange game. So that's what you're going to do in the game. You're going to then move the golems up on tracks. You're going to move your students up to try to keep track of the golems where they are to run around and wreak havoc on the city, and then you have to pay all the knowledge in the world to be able to get them back to you so they don't run away and do said havoc. That is what you're going to do in the game. You're going to try to get income, you're going to try to get points, you're going to try to do kind of like an engine to get a lot of end of game scoring by basically focusing on some of the different tracks in the game, which is basically all about. So that is like a short little overview thing. If you want to know more about the game, there's other videos having more of the rules, or you can read the rulebook. That is also a good thing. So let's talk a bit about the rulebook.
Yay!
Hey, that's a good transition. Sadly, I don't have anything to say about the rulebook, so I just thought the rulebook transition was good. The rulebook is good. Like the game is not. The game is heavy to play, but the rules are not that complicated. So I think the rulebook did a good job of explaining everything in a way that made sense to me.
Nice.
I only read it once, and I read like some parts here and there. Didn't feel like there was a lot of rulebook checking when we played. Maybe like a bit the first time, which is always is, but not more than that.
Yes.
So before we dive into the deep with all the funny stuff, let's talk about the artwork and the components.
Yeah, I think it looks different than your regular Euro game. The color scheme on the board is like an unusual combo for me. It's like, it looks a little gloom, like a kind of city that is in the evening. It's some warm and blue colors at the same time. I think it looks nice, but it's a little unusual, but it's nice to see something else than people are always doing. It kind of fits the theme. It's a gloomy theme.
When I saw pictures of this board, it looked super bland and horrible. Then I saw it in real life, and luckily it didn't look that horrible, but it does not look very good. Like, it's a very big board, not like too big, but it's like a normal plus, and it's basically 3 tracks. That's the whole board, or basically 6 tracks, because there's track for the students and track for the golems. And the reason it has to be this big is because the pieces are quite big, so you need to have space for actually seeing the different actions, which was a problem. We had to actually lay down the students so the players who looked at it from this side could actually see the action, because if you do this and you see it, there's nothing you can see there, which I don't know how they could have fixed it anyway, but I don't think it looks that good. And one thing that annoys me a lot is that you have 3 colored tracks, and one of them doesn't look like the color of the track at all. Like, the red track is green.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I think it's the red one. There's a red track and a yellow track and a blue track.
Yes.
Why not just then have... I know it's red because it's linked to the golden, which is clay, which is red.
But it's green.
It's like green tiles. I don't know why they did that. So it's going to move on the red track. And like, the only way to see it's a red track is there's a symbol with a red student on it. That's kind of like a little thing. But also, I like the presence of how it looks. I love like the marbles rolling down, and it looks nice. I enjoy most of the color scheme. It's just that board. I don't know how, because it's one of those boards. I love that. It's one of those boards which has... It looks is like put in the back to make it easy to read.
Yeah.
And I like that. It just something about those colors didn't work for me, but I still think the game looks good, but just that board. But just so you know, if you see a picture and you think it looks horrible, it looks better in real life.
Yeah, and I think like the component quality is nice.
Yes.
Nothing to complain about for me.
No, the card quality is good, like everything is the way it should be in a big, heavy Euro game. Let's talk about playtime and player count. First, some information. 2-player took about 2 hours, and then when we played it more, it took like 90 minutes for a 2-player game. 4 players took around 2.5 hours. We have not played 3 players, and I would just guess, like with most of these Euro games from 2 to 4 players, that 3 is kind of like the sweet spot of time-wise. If you don't care about how long the game is, then I thought both 2 players and 4 players was good.
Yeah, I thought so too. I liked 4 players more, mostly because of the marbles and the interaction also with the rabbi actions, because I thought that was more interesting in a 4-player game because more could happen between my turn and also more marbles are available. So that means that when you're playing like the first round, you have potentially more to do on your action because you get more marbles for it.
Yeah, basically like if you don't know anything about how the game works, you roll the marbles out here, and then if you take an action, you get like the action is as good as the amount of marbles that is there. So when we played 4 players, I felt like the potential for getting more big actions was there. I still think the 2-player game is very good, but for me, I think the 4-player game was better, and that's why I'm thinking like the 3-player game might be the best because it's like take away a bit of the time. But other than that, so how did you feel? Other than like the marbles and a bit of the interaction with the actions, there's less actions with 2 players, so it's kind of like the same. It's tight, but then again, there's fewer people who can take the action you want. Other than that, did you feel like there was a big difference in the game with 2 and 4 players?
No, it's not a lot of interaction in the game. It's a little bit of this, you took the book that I wanted to cast, or you killed the golem and got that bonus that I wanted to get. But other than the actual like the action selection, it felt pretty similar with more than 2 players as well.
Yeah, I agree. It felt like the same game, which is not a bad thing. Like you said, there's not that much interaction because there is a lot of that multiplayer solitaire elements of the game.
Yeah.
So let's talk deeper about the gameplay. When I read the rules to this, I was like, oh, there's many similarities to Grand Austria Hotel, which isn't weird because 2 of the designers of this game made Grand Austria Hotel, which is a game we really, really enjoy.
Yes.
Especially this marble system is basically the dice drafting from Grand Austria Hotel.
Yes,
how do you feel like they compare?
I think they are similar, but they have some important differences. In Grand Austria Hotel, you do like if there are 3 dice in an action space, it says how many times you can do that action. It's ways to manipulate that. But in this game, you can do it how many times, like...
You can do it once.
Yeah,
the actions,
or you can activate it once when you can activate 1, 2, or 3, or 4 golems.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can decide for yourself. But how many marbles are there basically says how many resources you get.
Yeah.
And you use those resources for the actions that you're gonna do. So if you have your resources, getting a big action which gives you a lot of resources is really important because then you can do more out of your action. But that means also that you're able to do a weak action if you have the resources you need from before, because you only need 1 marble to actually do the action. You just don't get any resources from it. That also that makes the puzzle a little different because you also have some colored marbles, which helps your student go up on the tracks to control the golems, which can be really important.
Which is really important.
Yes, and also
I would say for me.
Also you can get a specific combination of marble colors to like do something.
Just activate a character at the end of the round.
Yeah,
like
which it basically is get money or use money to get another bonus, which
those are
also
very powerful.
Can be very powerful. So I feel like the puzzle is a little different. I think I prefer Grand Austria Hotel's puzzle, but this is a fresh new way to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said. The one thing though, like, is that I didn't feel it that much. This thing that you said, like, it's basically a discount because resources are usually very tight in the game. If you don't have like a very good income engine for doing basically the artifacts gives you an income, it's hard to get those resources. Getting that. The difference between getting like 1 and 3 knowledge before doing an action might be the difference of me doing 1 or the 2 different actions. But yeah, there's only 5 actions in the game, and one is like the 6 in Grand Austria Hotel, which is the
A kind of Joker action.
yeah, the one where you can pay to do one of the other actions if you like they don't have enough marbles or the marbles that you need. And the others are basically then 1 for each of the tracks. 1 is blue for getting books and buying blue upgrades, and red is for getting clay and building golems and buying red upgrades.
Yeah.
And yellow is for buying gold and buying yellow upgrades.
Yeah.
And that is basically what you are doing. And the last one is for activating where the golems are on the map to do the actions that they actually are with. So I think that there are interesting things there. You only have 12 actions. So you do 2 of the marble actions, and then you do the rabbi actions.
You can do it whatever order you want. So sometimes you really want that specific rabbi action, and then you're just like, okay, maybe people will take the marbles that I need, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take.
I like that because that also changed it up from being the same thing like in a Grand Austria Hotel.
Yes.
And those actions change every round, so that you will have like, oh, now this one comes out. When you play it a couple of times, you know, oh, you're waiting for that specific action, or I hope that one come out now, and you have to go and take it because that's going to help me a lot in this. Because those are very important to get like a discount on an upgrade and all of that. But you only, so getting those bonus actions, doing more than the 12 things you're going to do is very important.
Yeah, because you can trigger some combos which are really nice. You can, for example, with a golem activate a space which gets you a new book, and then the book lets you do something other. For example, kill another golem, and that triggers another bonus. So you really want that extra bonuses, as you said. But other than that, I feel like the game, what you're trying to focus on is when you like take it apart, it's very simple. It's get stuff in a specific area,
color,
for example, build the golems and get the red upgrades, because that will basically get you a lot of endgame scoring. And
we're going to talk more about, like, we can basically put in the upgrade talk now, because we have like, we could not to make people confused if they had not. But we do about middle of a sentence if you want to continue.
I don't remember it.
Sorry,
so it's fine.
It was not. I didn't mean that.
No problem.
The thing is though that like the upgrades, so that we're talking about, is they are upgrades. Like they're making one action or part of an action better, but also all of them has a symbol for end of game scoring.
Yeah.
And basically, if you go for books, I can then there's 4 different tracks for spaces for books. You can have one of each color. And at the end of the game, you're going to multiply the amount of different book types you have, or the columns with books you have, with those symbols from the blue upgrades. And there's 4 of them. The same with the golems. You have maximum 4 golems you can build. You start with 2, and also have maximum 4 artifacts. So basically, the game is a lot about getting things out in 1 or 2 categories, and then upgrade as many times as you can to get those scores. The upgrades do things as well. Most of them have like abilities. The books basically give you more income, or changes the income when you place book cards in the row, because that's a mechanism. Basically, you place a book and then you do everything of all the books in that row. That's the thing you can go for. The artifacts, basically the upgrades, makes it better to get more income, or also makes it different triggers for when you get income. And the golems are different abilities for the golems, basically.
Yeah.
And so, when we're starting to talk about that, let's then mix up a bit the order of things we want to talk about, and talk a bit about replayability, because I feel those really go into each other. What do you feel about the replayability of the game?
Yeah, because most of the time you feel a little rinse and repeat. When we played it, I feel like it's very easy to fall into the pattern where you do kind of the same stuff that you always do. Yes, you have some final scoring on the cards that are unique for that round. that you will try to focus on that might dictate, okay, now I want to have some golems, then I need to focus on this, or I need to have some upgrades, then I want to focus on that, or some gold, for example, that kind of dictates the direction. But most of the time, it's just like good to upgrade a thing a lot and get a lot of that stuff. You kind of and you can't focus on everything, so it's basically like one you focus a lot on, and the other you have opportunities to do sometimes, and that's good as well.
I think that because you will see most of the game the first time you play. You have these rabbi actions, all of them are going to come out because they change each round. And then you have the roads, which has 7 of 10 different actions on them. There's 10 of them, you shuffle them, and then you place them always in ascending order. And I don't think those are that different. So that's like, oh no, this is out. I'm going to play completely.
Actions?
Yeah, like in the roads. Yeah, like when the once the golem activate.
Yeah.
They're not different enough to be like, oh, I'm going to play completely different because this action is there. I feel like the beginning of the game really is going to tell you what to do, because you start not what to do, but makes you most of the time going to say like, okay, I have this, I'm going to focus on that thing. Because you start with 4 starting cards, you're going to choose 2 of them, which is the bonuses you start with. You get some, you're going to draft end of game scoring cards. So if you get something that is, oh, this is obviously telling me to go for books, probably going to do that. And then you're also going to draft the artifact boards, which are different. I like that a lot, that they are, and they feel kind of different actually. That's actually the thing that feels most different. Because you have some of them have like great like student movement, and you really want to go for that, or you can go for a cheap artifact to just get that bonus that you need. So for example, last time we played, I had cards and I was like, okay, I have to have that artifact board, because that one was really good for me to just fill up my artifacts super quick and just get those bonuses.
That's nice.
And so you kind of plan your strategy before the game start, I feel like. Not like you still have to do like what is good in that moment.
Yeah, but what you focus on, yeah, I agree.
And so that's going to change, and it doesn't, like this replayability thing doesn't bother me that much, because I'm not going to play the game 15-20 times. The thing that I already felt after all plays is the golem upgrades, because they are always the same, and those are the things that are actually abilities. Because the upgrades for the blue and upgrades for the yellow are just like different income, basically. But these are action abilities, and those felt kind of samey after playing a couple of times.
They're really powerful, though.
They are very good.
So they feel really, some of them it feels very important to have. I don't say that they are essential for your game. I think you can win without any.
Without almost any golems last time.
Yeah,
I think I won.
Yeah, I think so too. And that was actually pretty cool. But I feel like some of them, it's like, it's not hard to choose what to do, because you're like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
You know that is good. You know that you're going to make a golem and that will be good.
It's like, for example, there's one that every time you place a golem, you can move him once if you want, and then after you have not moved him, you can activate the ability without laying him down. That's super powerful. You're going to get the worst ability, but it's still a free activation of a bonus. So it's not like, and that one's pretty cheap to make, to upgrade. So it's not like I'm going to say, oh, this round I'm going to focus on golems, but I'm not going to get that because that's not so good for me. Because you're trying to flip all of them throughout the game. Like if you go for 4 golems, you want to try to flip as many of them as possible. And the cheap one gets you as many points. Like there's one that gives you 3 times the points. But other than that, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to do something completely different with golems this time.
But I think like that was actually pretty cool, because I've gone for like I had 4 or 5 golems out at one point, but you had like 2. And then you ended the game with 1 or something, and that was cool. So you can do that golem movement kind of different, and then you lose like the ability to activate more golems at the same time. And then also if you have to move a lot, then you have to move. You only have that one possibility, because moving on golems is a little risky. If you have a lot of movement, a few golems, then they can reach the top, and that.
We haven't talked about that yet, but we are going to talk about it. So let's do it now. The movement of the golems. They're running away from you. How does that work?
You have power, kind of. When you make golems, they get stronger.
You have a golem track.
You have a golem tracks. And then how many golems you have made and how powerful they are with a number for the round says how much your golems are going to move.
That's
and then
really
they
good
move.
Explanation.
Thank you. And if you have more golems, you can divide the movement between the golems. If you have only one, he has to move a lot. If
It's going to be a problem.
they reach the top of the track, you have to pay points.
Yes.
That's bad. If you have your student like far away from a golem, you have to spend a lot of resources controlling them. If you don't have resources, a lot of points.
Yeah,
it's gonna be lost.
Very interesting actually,
Yes.
like mechanism. Like they always usually move more than you want them to move. So then you can also like kill off the golem to make that track go down, so you have to move less. But then again, you have fewer golems to move. So many times I've been like, oh, now I can upgrade this thing that lets me kill a golem right now, but then I have to move that one golem 8 spaces.
Wait, what?
And that is going to lose me 16 points. So not going to do that. So I think that mechanism is really fresh and actually kind of thematic. Like there's these students that you send out to roam after these golems, clay monsters that are like living like kind of like a Frankenstein monster, and you need to contain them. You need to know where they are and what they're doing, so they don't wreak all the havoc in the world. So I think that is a really interesting mechanism.
Yeah, I think like, can you play the game without any golems, like killing all of them in the beginning? I don't know.
Almost did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost did that the last time we played.
Yeah.
Like you said, I had 2 and then only 1. So that was really nice. One thing I want to add, like before we go into the final thoughts, because we're soon getting there. Like one thing I feel like the 3 tracks are a bit too separated. I would have liked them to be a bit more integrated in each other. Like the blue track is mostly giving you things, knowledge, and giving you things for books. The red track is giving you clay and golem activations and stuff like that. And the yellow track is giving you gold and things has to do with artifacts. So it is, as we already talked about, like you choose a track and you go for that track. There's not like the books can kind of like activate other tracks. But other than that, mostly you're going to just focus on a thing and do that thing. So that's just the thing I want to add. I could probably do that in final thoughts. So do you want to do some final thoughts?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's go.
I am a bit unsure how much I like this game. A little because of the replayability that we talked about. Not a huge problem for us, but also how much I like it. For example, compared to Grand Austria Hotel, it's not the same game.
No, this is heavier, more complex.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like you can master it pretty quickly, but it still has like a lot of interesting decisions going for it. I find it very hard to find something that I don't like about the game. And I think it's a solid game, but it's nothing that is super exciting about it either for me. I am going to give it a 7. I think it's a good game, but for me, nothing more at this point in time. 7 is still very good, but yeah.
I might have sounded through this review that I did not like the game a lot, but I did. I liked the game a lot. Most of the things we talked about now is like things I did not love, but it's still a very fun game. I have a lot of fun playing it, especially with 4 players. It was a blast to play. I'm not allowed to say that. This game was a blast to play. You cannot say that. That's somebody else's. Somebody else can say that. And I just think it's very good. I don't think it's as good as, for example, Barrage or Grand Austria Hotel, like same designers, same publisher, not Grand Austria, but same designers. But I still think it's a very good game.
Nice.
I like it a lot. I'm going to give it an 8.
Cool.
I think the game is very good. It might drop when I play it more. I don't know, but for now, it is a very solid, great game. An 8 and a 7 for Golem. And that's the end of another review. If you are still here and you have not subscribed, you can do it now by clicking the
subscribe button.
I almost took your words out of your mouth there.
No problem.
And if you want to do something that's not free but still fun, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and help us support us there. And that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Cinema.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings. And bye-bye.